NASA says its Voyager 1 probe, the most distant human-made object in the universe, is sending usable information to Earth again after months of spouting gibberish.
15 billion miles from Earth, NASA's Voyager 1 just recorded 305 objects moving in perfect formation. NASA says its Voyager 1 probe, the most distant human-made object in the universe, is sending usable information to Earth again after months of spouting gibberish. Where the nearest star is 4 light-years away, that's not dust, that's not debris. It's a synchronized fleet gliding through the void with no engines, no heat signatures, and movements that violate everything we know about physics. And it all began with a tiny blip in the data stream. The glitch echoes in the dark. At first, NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory thought it was just noise. When Dr. Eliza Cara, the mission specialist who spotted it, first saw the data, she ran the diagnostics 3 times. The magnetometer showed organized movement. The plasma sensors detected rhythmic pulses. Something out there wasn't just moving, it was steering. And in interstellar space, where the nearest anything is light-years away, that's impossible. In space, about 1% of the mass floats as dust, tiny particles that absorb and scatter radiation. Odd readings happen all the time, but this flicker was different. Dr. Cara said it felt like shouting into a canyon for decades, and finally something shouts back. The blip was a faint reflection of light caught by Voyager's sensors. At first it seemed too small to matter, but over hours and days that flicker morphed into a pattern. The object did things that were physically impossible. No thruster burns, no momentum conservation, like someone hitting undo on physics itself. It curved. It sped up. It didn't tumble like a rock. Instead, it glided as if guided from within. When the plasma wave instruments recorded a focused shift, the team sat up and paid attention. A systems analyst noticed the movement was deliberate, almost machine-like. Could it be that something out there was steering this object? In the quiet physics of space, nothing moves with purpose unless something makes it. As Voyager sent back more data, scientists faced a question they never expected to ask. What moves like a machine but isn't one of ours? Suddenly, the void between stars felt less empty. That tiny anomaly rippled through NASA's halls, stirring both wonder and unease. And that ripple was only the start of a story far bigger than anyone could have guessed. The mystery unfolds. With every new packet of data, the object's movement became clearer. The object accelerated to speeds that would tear any known spacecraft apart, then stopped instantly. No deceleration, no physics. NASA's models crashed trying to calculate the energy required. One engineer described it as watching someone delete the laws of motion. It never drifted aimlessly. Data showed it change direction by tiny degrees, as if correcting its path. Voyager's instruments recorded shifts in magnetic fields that matched the object's course, hinting at something more than a piece of space rock. The first step was to rule out known causes. Could it be a hidden comet or asteroids clumped together? No, those move according to gravity and tumble randomly through space. Could it be solar wind pushing dust? Again, no. Solar wind flows outward from our sun, and at Voyager's distance, its force is too weak to drive such smooth motion. Next, the team turned to computer models. They simulated an object of the same size and shape floating in the interstellar medium. Under all known forces, it would drift like a leaf in a stream, slow, erratic, at the mercy of random currents. Yet, the real object steered itself. The models simply couldn't match Voyager's readings. Speculation ran wild. Some whispered about alien probes, drones sent by an intelligence beyond our own. Others argued for natural phenomena we don't yet know. Ice crystal formations, magnetic whirls, phantom energy fields. Hypotheses flew, each more exotic than the last. But none fit all the data. Voyager's magnetometer captured something that made engineers question their instruments. A pulse too perfect for nature, too organized for coincidence. It pulsed at intervals too regular to be random, like a heartbeat or a signal. That tiny pulse lined up exactly with the object's quick turn in its path. Now the evidence leaned towards something artificial. When an object in empty space sends back a heartbeat, it starts to feel alive. For decades, Voyager has been humanity's lone traveler in deep space. It carries our hopes, our data, and a record of who we are. Now, it was tracking something that might be tracking us, or at least watching this boundary between star systems. And if these objects can track Voyager from 15 billion miles away, they can track anything, including the device you're watching this on. The golden record, intended as a greeting, suddenly seemed like a beacon. The team at JPL went into high gear. Engineers rechecked every sensor. Scientists pored over equations. The data slipped through antennas into secure networks and into every corner of NASA's analysis rooms across the globe. Astronomers tuned giant radio dishes to the spot where Voyager last saw the object. Telescopes searched for any sign of light or heat. Planetary scientists, astrophysicists, and SETI researchers joined forces, yet nothing on Earth could match the intimacy of Voyager's close-range view. The spacecraft alone could see the fine details of motion and magnetism. Every bit it sent back was precious, because buried in that data was proof that we'd already been found. And so the mystery remains. What is this object moving with purpose so far from home? Is it a wandering remnant of some ancient civilization? A natural marvel we can't yet explain. Or the first sign that we are no longer alone in the sea of stars, the space between us. Dr. Lucas Hang had debunked alien sightings for 20 years, but staring at Voyager's data, his hands were shaking. This wasn't a UFO enthusiast's blurry photo. This was hard data from humanity's most distant probe showing movements that shouldn't exist. Unsure of where to go from here, he started where they normally do, a checklist. Was it an asteroid? No. Too smooth, too sharp in its movements. Comet. No trail, no icy vapor. Moon? Not even close. This thing wasn't glowing, wasn't reflecting heat, and wasn't bending light in any way that made sense. Dust? Not a chance. Dust doesn't make clean turns mid-drift, it just floats and scatters. As he stared at his screen, rubbing his forehead, he was trying to figure out what it could be. He'd run every simulation he could think of. Gravitational, pulls, solar pressure, unknown space currents. But no matter how many times he tried, nothing fit. The object wasn't just odd. It was behaving like it didn't care about the usual rules. Every object in space follows rules we can calculate down to the millimeter. These didn't. They moved like space itself was different around them. Things orbit, spiral, or drift. They fall into patterns that can be charted and mapped. Even chaos in space has structure. One exciting example is the arches of chaos. These arches are like invisible bridges formed by gravity streams around special spots called Lagrange points. From these points, safe and unstable paths flow outward. Together they shape winding patterns that guide comets, asteroids, and spacecraft across the solar system. No one can see them directly, but scientists map these arches with math and careful observations. They show even the most tangled paths have a map. At the same time, ice in space can seem formless and soft, but it too hides patterns. High above, planets and comets and around moons, space ice can join into clusters. When studied up close, this ice shows an organized inner grid. Its atoms line up in repeating patterns that give the ice traits not found on Earth. Even though it floats in the cold corners of space, this ice obeys clear rules in its build. Together, the arches of chaos and the hidden grids in space ice prove that chaos and order can live side by side. But this object zigged where it should have zagged. It moved like it had somewhere to be. And then an uncomfortable truth began to sink in. This wasn't just unknown, it was unnatural. Something or someone had made this thing or was controlling it. It wasn't just drifting, it was navigating. That thought hit the team hard, because if something was guiding it, then something out there might be watching. Signal Twin then Voyager 2 detected the exact same signal, not similar, identical, down to the microsecond timing. Two probes 2 billion miles apart, recording the same impossible pulse. That's when NASA knew this wasn't equipment failure. Something was broadcasting across our entire solar system. Its high-gain antenna still links it to mission control, and 3 radioisotope thermoelectric generators power its vital systems despite fading output. What Voyager sent back to Earth shocked even experienced scientists. It recorded the exact same pattern, a magnetic fluctuation steady and repeating. A signal. Two separate spacecraft, two different locations in space. One signal that changed everything. This wasn't a glitch. These weren't faulty sensors. This was real. Whatever Voyager 1 had seen, Voyager 2 was now seeing too. That meant the object or whatever was behind it wasn't in one place, it was moving or there were more of them. At the European Space Agency, analyst Moritz Fontaine explained it like this. It's like two lighthouses blinking at each other and both catching. A glimpse of something slipping between them. That one description painted a picture the world couldn't ignore. Something was passing through the darkness quietly, precisely, and now it had revealed itself twice. The team huddled together over their data. Weeks passed. Signals were checked. Readings compared. But one thing was clear, this wasn't random, it was planned. And if it was planned, then someone had a plan. Now the scientists weren't just staring at deep space. They were staring into the unknown. Something had entered the space between stars, and it was leaving clues behind. The full telemetry download took 18 hours. When it finished, the room went silent. 305 objects, not scattered, not random. A perfect formation maintaining distances down to the meter, 15 billion miles from the nearest star. They kept checking for errors. There weren't any. That's when the fear set in. Imagine 305 tiny dancers gliding past Voyager 1. Each one holding its place in a perfect arc. No wobble, no drift, no sign of random motion. There were no heat trails or glowing tails. Nothing aged or falling apart. Instead, each object sent back rhythmic pulses through the plasma waves like a steady drumbeat, echoing across billions of miles. At first, some scientists hoped it was a glitch, maybe a handful of misreadings, but the data was too clear. Every object showed the same precise path. Every pulse matched the others. They weren't fragments breaking off a comet, nor bits of ancient ice shimmering in the sun. They were moving with purpose. In deep space, tiny differences in speed or pull should scatter a group over time. Gravity tugs, solar pressure, random bumps, everything pulls them apart. Yet these objects stayed together, as if held by invisible threads. Scientists compared it to a flock of birds flying in a perfect V, or a school of fish weaving through the ocean. But this was space. No air, no water, no instinct, only silicon, metal, and mystery. The more the team looked, the colder they felt. A single odd object might be a quirk of nature, but 305 all synchronized like this, that pointed to one thing: design. Something or someone had built this formation and sent it across the stars. For the first time, the vast emptiness between solar systems seemed less empty. Pulse logic. The signals weren't random. They were counting binary at first, on, off, then sequences, 2 pulses, 3 pulses, 5, 8, 13. The Fibonacci sequence transmitted from the void. Random nature doesn't count in mathematical sequences. Intelligence does. These weren't random pulses from stars or cosmic dust. They were steady beats, loops of energy that looked like messages. Voyager's plasma wave sensors recorded sequences that rose and fell with a crisp regularity, almost like dots and dashes in Morse code. Dr. Serena Patel from California Institute of Technology, Caltech, stared at the charts and said, "This feels less like nature and more like a language." The waves had short loops, long loops, and pauses. Just like letters and words, the 305 objects weren't just floating past Voyager 1, they were talking to each other. Each pulse seemed to ping the next object in line, keeping the whole formation in sync. ESA analyst Eric Lousy went so far as to call it a probe network, but NASA quickly asked him to hold off on bold claims. Even skeptics joined in. Famous astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson said the data isn't random. There's structure here. To make sure it wasn't a glitch, the team powered up Voyager's oldest backup telemetry channel, one that hadn't run since the 1990s. It came online perfectly, and the pulses, paths and speeds all matched. Twice the systems, twice the proof. Then came the really strange part: propulsion. There were no glowing exhausts, no ion trails, no flash of thrusters. Yet Doppler measurements showed the objects speeding up, slowing down, and steering with precision. Some moved faster than any human-made craft ever has. In fact, a few even topped the escape velocity of the entire Milky Way. That means they had enough speed to break free from our galaxy's pull. Dr. Caleb Ramirez from MIT said, "They're not drifting. They're navigating." But it wasn't just speed that astonished him. It was their path. The objects steered clear of planets, moons, and even our sun. It was as if they were on a mission far beyond our neighborhood, and we weren't on the guest list. The lack of visible engines had theorists scratching their heads. No ion drives, no nuclear pulses, no solar sails catching sunlight. Instead, the group moved as if they were riding ripples in space itself. Theoretical physicist Elena Reyes described it this way: "It's not flying as we understand flight. It's more like surfing on a medium we don't yet know how to feel. Imagine bending the fabric of space to carry you forward. No fuel, no flame, just motion." The discovery challenged everything we thought we knew about physics. Either there are natural forces we haven't yet discovered, or there's technology out there far beyond our wildest dreams or fears. These objects carried messages and moved with a level of control that hinted at a maker, or makers who knew the secret of space itself. Voyager 1 had found more than empty darkness. It had unearthed a mystery of signals and silent engines of formation flights and hidden forces.